Hi, my name is Caroline from the Yoga Lunchbox, and today I'm interviewing Justine Hamill. Justine is the co-owner of Power Living in Wellington. She began her yoga journey in London in 2000, which we just worked out is 18 years ago, which is a little bit less than she's been married. She's been married for 19 years. I think that's worth celebrating. And she has 3 children, including twin boys and a daughter. And Justine and I have known each other for a while, and I've actually done a training with her. So, Justine, it's so nice to have the chance to talk to you finally.
Yes, it is.
Oh, so we're going to talk about the Power Living training because you've got a teacher training coming up in New Zealand starting in May. Like you guys run one every year. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about you. Can we do that?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me, like you started yoga in 2000, but you didn't really get into it until you were pregnant with Ruby, your daughter?
Yeah. So it was about 14 years ago, or 14 and a half years ago when I was pregnant with my first child, Ruby, that I started to look to how I could take care of myself, really, and started that whole journey of unraveling and of self and of changing my where I was at as a person, becoming a mother. So yoga was the very first step on that journey, and I started at a very small studio called Yoga and Daily Life up in Kapiti. Actually, and you might know one of my first yoga teachers was actually Marie Andrews. You might know Marie from around, yoga teaching in New Zealand. And I went to these very gentle hatha classes during my pregnancy, and I found that I could breathe and I felt unusually relaxed afterwards. So I really liked it.
I find it really amazing that this is so common for women that I speak to, that they don't really necessarily get into yoga until they're pregnant. And then it's like all of a sudden I'm taking care of another living being, so I better take care of myself. As if I wasn't enough without,
Exactly. That's been a big part of my journey, even right up until now, has been learning how to take care of myself and learning who I am even and what that means.
Yeah. Now, I know yoga and daily life is like you said, it's a fairly gentle form of hatha yoga. Power living is quite different. How did you journey from yoga and daily life? When did you first discover the Power Living crew?
I was teaching at City Fitness Gym. I was a fitness instructor for a while there when my kids were young as a part-time job, and I saw this ad, and Abundance Studios were bringing over this guy, Duncan Peake, and Keenan was coming over as well, and they were going to run this training, and I watched this YouTube video, and wow, this is amazing. This is everything. It's mindfulness, and it's transforming yourself, and it's learning how to practice yoga. This is really early on in my journey, and I was just really attracted to the holistic nature of it. And I thought I could be a yoga teacher, or I could just end up being a better person even. And I signed up for this training. I didn't know what Power Living was. I'd never been to a Power Living studio because it wasn't here then. And I sort of took a leap of faith really, and signed up and underwent this training with Duncan and Keenan in Wellington. The training was very different back then. It was only 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks for the first set, and then it might have been 2 weeks in the second part, something like that. This is back in 2010. And there was no retreat component. And I think over the last 8 years, the training has just refined and grown and become this a transformational journey beyond anything else that I've experienced. So I'm really grateful that I get to travel that journey with the students that come through with us. And part of that. It's pretty cool.
So you must have got off lightly a little bit then if you didn't have to go on retreat, because that experience of being fully immersed for like 7 days with nowhere to hide and nowhere to go, it's full on, right? It can be like crack all kind of things open.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And so what happened was after that, I was like, wow, there's more. So I sought out how to find that, and I went on other retreats with Duncan Peake and with Power Living on my 500-hour pathway. And it wasn't long after that, a few years after I'd done my training, maybe 3 or 4, that they contacted me and wanted me to be the programs administrator in New Zealand, so organising logistics at that point of the teacher trainings and then coming together with the facilitators from overseas to run the trainings here at an external venue that we would hire. And from there I naturally kind of came into assisting in facilitation, and then eventually the idea came up that we would open a studio here, and Jace came over to do that with me. But quite a process from over the 6 years before that to come to that point, not only in just logistically, but in my personal growth as well, to get to a point where I could hold the space for all of that.
Because that's been a 2-year journey now, right? The studio in Wellington. Is it 2 years already?
Yeah, the studio's been open 2 years, or just over 2 years. January.
So how has that changed things now that the training, because the New Zealand trainings, like you said, have been running in New Zealand since 2010, but in the last 2 years you've actually had your own, like there's been a powerliving studio to hold the trainings. Has that made a difference? Has that changed things?
Yeah, it means that it's in our home, it's in our whare, it feels like we have a home for our people. So in between their trainings, if they are based in Wellington, then they're practicing here. Often they've been practicing here for a lot longer than when they come onto the training. When we were doing trainings and facilitators were coming from overseas, often people would be fresh new to this style of perhaps this style of yoga or this style of training, which is nothing wrong with that either. But yeah, it just gives it a real container here. And then after that journey, we're here to support people as well. So we're here to follow through, which I feel is really important after undergoing quite a deep transformational journey over that 3 months.
So tell me a bit about the training, because like you say, it's over the course of 3 months, but it's not you're not immersed for the whole 3 months, so are you?
No. So it's done in blocks. There's two blocks of 4 days. And there is an immersion retreat where everyone goes to Bali and then joins with a number of the other Australian studio trainees in Bali, which is, in my opinion, that's my favourite part of the training, where everything kind of comes together. And then there's another weekend, which is the final review and exam weekend, where they undergo where they sit a written and they do practical exams as well. And I think there's pros and cons to whether you're fully immersed and you do a weekly check-in style training, or whether you do these block style trainings. One of the reasons that we tend to do it this way is that in between these little intensive 4 days, there's a nice period of time where everything can just land. The students go back to their daily practice and their daily life and let what they've absorbed just integrate and settle before they come back and then take on a new piece or another layer.
And so how would you define the style of yoga that powerliving teaches and trains teachers in? Like,
if you're talking like physical asana, it's a strong vinyasa style flow. So they'll come away with a really good, comprehensive, rounded sequence, and they'll walk out of their training being able to teach that and teach it really well in another studio. But to me, the biggest part of the training is the personal growth and development. So it's not even really about signing up to become a teacher. In fact, half the people that sign up do it just for their own personal growth. It's the deeper, I guess, journey of yoga and peeling back those layers, or perhaps integrating different parts of ourselves and becoming fuller, more authentic, although that word authentic gets thrown around a lot these days, but it's like, authentic, but becoming that realer, truer, centered version of yourself, so that then when you're coming out to teach or guide students as a teacher, you're standing up there clean slate as you, without that tendency to project or transfer or have all of your messiness tucked up in those relationships. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But and this too, like, this intrigues me about you. You come from a background, like, you're a trained counsellor, aren't you? Or a trained therapist?
I trained for 4 years in Gestalt Psychotherapy,
Yeah. just as well, right? So that understanding that you have of personal growth and personal development, I'm guessing what you see in the power living training maps quite well to what you learned in therapy and how we develop become like healthy psychological adults, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Becoming aware and creating the witness. I mean, we're very clear that this style of training is not therapy.
Mm-hmm.
We're very careful, and me particularly with my background, about how far I take people that's appropriate for their stage and for where they're going off to next,
Mm-hmm.
or what part of the training they're in, etc. So we handle people really mindfully and carefully around that. Also taking into account their history, their psychological history, and their life history, so that this becomes like a stepping stone and an opening out into awareness. It's like the first step. Something to be feared. You're not going to get ripped apart and dove into something that's going to cause a psychological break, but it's going to be the first stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
Just opening up process of awareness of how am I behaving in my life? Where do these behaviours perhaps come from, and how can I develop my awareness to be living in integrity in my life to the best of my possible capability?
That's so beautiful. So when people come through, you said that about half don't actually necessarily do the training to become yoga teachers?
No. Yeah, that's right. They don't.
So why are people coming on a yoga teacher training when they just know they're not even going to be a teacher?
Well, I think sometimes people are a little bit scared, quite rightly, and they're like, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this, or have I got the things that I don't know if I could stand up in front of a room, and there's all those fears, but something makes them sort of step into it, and sometimes saying, I'm just going to do it for this, just helps them ease in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when they come out, 99% of them end up teaching or sharing in some capacity. Using it for other amazing things. We've got, Christina Cavitt in Auckland that's running the Kindness Institute and is doing amazing work in youth. She's teaching some yoga. Might be a slightly different style or whatever, but the essence of what she's able to bring into herself and then share with the community is what we're about, is like that real sharing of the essence of yoga and spreading that out and having an impact.
Mm-hmm. So is Christina one of your graduates from Power Living?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That would never have occurred to me.
Yeah.
And she's doing amazing, beautiful work for a specific demographic, like going in and reaching that demographic. So
you don't have to do the training to then go away and teach power yoga classes. You can do the training to discover what your purpose is and what your gifts are, and how you can translate that into your community and be a life-changing impact. You're just amazing.
So you must have seen some pretty extraordinary transformations in students, I'm guessing, over the last how many years you've been assisting, facilitating and leading teacher trainings. Can you give us a couple of examples of what you've seen, like someone walking in and then by the end, how they might have transformed or changed?
It's literally everyone. The change in everyone is just so profound in the way that they open up that I'm always blown away. One particular person that we had could barely speak when they started the training, had quite a severe stutter, had real trouble making eye contact. Now it came out of the training and actually ended up working for us. He's now moved back overseas now, but I see him, I follow him online and what he's up to, and he looks like he's creating change everywhere and now singing and playing the guitar. And so from this and this deep sense of not sure of myself to being able to be open and loving and sharing is pretty beautiful to witness.
Yeah, that's amazing. No wonder you love doing this.
Yeah, I do.
So this training is based in New Zealand. You're one of the lead facilitators. Who else? Is Jace also lead facilitator?
Yes, yeah. So how it currently is working is that Jace usually runs day 1 to 4, which is mostly the setting up of the anatomy and the setting up of the container of the course. I come in and do 5 to 8, which is reviewing the anatomy and then going into more of the yogic philosophy and some of the deeper personal work that we start looking at, all the way through those days where the students are learning their sequence and we're breaking down postures every day to minute details so that they're getting a really good grasp of not just bones and muscles, but functional anatomy and how different shapes impact the body and how functional anatomy works in the realm of asana. And then on the retreat, usually there's someone from New Zealand on the retreat, as well as Duncan will be there for a period of time, and some of the other Australian facilitators.
Awesome. So you get that wide spectrum of the experience from you guys here in New Zealand, and then also some of the Australians on the retreat in Bali.
Yeah. And then also in New Zealand we'll often have an assistant who's there right through all of those blocks with either Jace or I, who might be someone who's training to come on and facilitate, or they might be one of our teachers here. So a thread of a familiar face right through too. We have Kate, who is in charge of the logistics in New Zealand, so she's the base and the point of contact for the students if they have any needs or concerns during the training.
And how many people do you normally have on the training? Like what kind of size?
It can vary. The maximum number for here is 22, which means that it's a really nice, intimate group, and that no one gets missed or sitting in the background. So
you can't hide.
I don't know. But it can be anywhere between. I think this one coming up looks like is about 15 to 20 people. So and we run 2 a year now. So when we used to run a year and we were at another venue, we would have up to 30 people, but we're now running 2 a year, so smaller numbers more often.
So the intake for this one is in May, and then have you got another one later in the year for those who might not be able to make the May one? When's that one? September. Okay, awesome. That's good to know. One final question. I think, what do you think makes a great yoga teacher?
Someone who can be themselves.
Why is that so hard for us to be ourselves, right? Like we have to go and train to become ourselves.
Well, it's like untraining. It's really an untraining. So it's an unconditioning process. We spend our lives conditioned by, as you know, I mean, we know each other well. We've both had a lot of conditioning throughout our lives that we're still unpicking, like everyone. So there's this unconditioning and untraining process that has to go on to get back to that core of who we really are. And then when we find that, we can become more in line with our purpose or our dharma. We call it in yoga, and then we know what we've got to share with others in the world from that place. And that doesn't have to take a lot of words. It's in the way that we're being everywhere all the time, and how we're being in the classroom is the biggest way we can impact our students beyond what we're telling them to do, or beyond what muscles or what cues we're giving. How are we being, and what energy are we bringing to the room, and how are we making an impact, I guess, in a broad sense.
Awesome.
So being ourselves.
I love that. Like you say, the untraining process, like you're right, it's really a process of deconditioning, isn't it? We're unconditioning the patterns that have been laid in. Yeah, and I guess too for a lot of people, when they first come to a training like this, that might have been the first time they've been exposed to that idea of conditioning and patterns and triggers.
Yeah, sure. It can be actually quite full on for people to start to notice those things and then realise that these things that they've been unconsciously or habitually repeating throughout life, and how they've given quite a big impact on how their life is being lived. It's a process we hold carefully and we take really seriously, and give a lot of care and compassion and love throughout that process. There is a safety there as well. Yeah,
because I know from personal experience it can be quite confronting to start to see aspects of yourself that maybe have been unconscious or in the shadow. And the necessity for that to be held in, like you're saying, love and compassion.
Yeah, it's not about judging, oh, I'm bad because I've done X, Y, Z, or I've been doing all this stuff all my life, I'm a shit person. It's not about that. It's about bringing the unaware into the awareness and then having a choice.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much, Justine. It's really nice to speak to you about all of this. And it's beautiful to know that you and Jace are down there in Wellington, like anchoring the space and holding people the way that you do. So thank you for the work that you do in the world.
Yeah, it's always awesome to speak to you and see you through the screen.
Yeah.